Hi, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my channel. Today I'd like to review Untethered Sky by Fonda Lee. It's a new novella slated for release in March of 2023. I loved this one so much. Easily one of my favorite reads of the year, if not all time. I'm really stingy about putting books on my all-time favorites list. I've only got like 31 or 2 on there. But the fact that this one is even meriting the debate on whether or not it deserves a spot there tells you a lot about it. It's important to know that I love stories like this. The nitty-gritty training sequences between a trainer and their animal. So because of that, I'm already inclined to rate things a little bit higher than I would have normally, because I love the type of story. So while this is one of my all-time favorites, loved it so much, it may not be quite as amazing for the rest of y'all. But that said, it's definitely still worth a read. So to its credit, if you're going to have a book about a woman and her rock, or giant bird, that immediately promises you're going to get a lot of slow training sequences between the two. And this one had that in abundance. Everything from the point where she first met this bird to kind of trying to gain its trust, all the way to training it how to hunt. So it was training-tastical, and I love that kind of stuff in books. And also, I have read a few books like this where the danger element wasn't there, so you didn't really feel tension between the character and the animal. In this case, the balance was struck perfectly. You could tell that the animal was dangerous and she was kind of riding this edge of safety and recklessness, and so I thought that was a nice element to the story. The bond between the main character and the rock was awesome. It led to a lot of really good moments, like poignant moments. Same thing with her and the other characters. It amazes me how such short books can pack so much of a punch when it comes to like character development and world building. It's like they cut through all the crap and they just focus on the things that make books special. I'm a big fan of the novella-length things lately. I think, despite how cool the rock was, the trainer, the main character, was my favorite part of this story. I loved her backstory. I loved her personal connection to the trajectory of the story, like what she's working towards, why she decided to put herself in danger to become a trainer. Add to that the fact that she was ever so slightly awkward and would much rather spend time with her bird than with other people. And you've got a character that's pretty dang endearing. I loved her. Now the X factor for me that sends books from loved it to all-time favorite seems to always be momentum and pacing. I thought this novella struck a perfect balance between the both. So every scene had meaning, everything was a forward progression, and then it all culminated into an awesome ending that left me reeling, left me satisfied, but also left me wanting another story in this world. At this point, I've only read the first book of her Greenbone saga, but based on the general hype around Jade Legacy, the final book in that series, and just how positively people talk about that series as a whole, I can only imagine that that beautiful pacing and momentum is prevalent in that series as well. So it seems to be a strength of this author, and I think we're going to get along quite well. I think the only thing I can say against it is that there was nothing particularly revolutionary in it. It's a basic story done very well, and sometimes that's just what you need. It definitely worked for me. I am coming in at a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I may round up to a solid 5 and add it to my all-time favorites. We shall see how I feel about it in a few weeks after it's had a chance to settle. Let's talk about other books you might like. The one that immediately came to mind when I read Untethered Sky is Race the Sands by Sarah Beth Durst. This is a standalone, a rarity in the genre, and it has almost all of the same dynamics with the added bonus of a competition, which you know how much I love competitions. And also similar, the creatures that they're training and taming in these books are not dragons, but just as dang cool. This book caught me off guard with how much I absolutely loved it, and so I think if you like one story, you'll definitely want to check out the other. My longtime favorite dragon training book, Joust by Mercedes Lackey. There is an external plot in this one, but who cares? It's all about this kid and his dragon, and the day-to-day monotony of what it takes to care for a dragon. The series does evolve a bit from there, but the basic core of it is very similar to what I loved about Untethered Sky, so can't recommend this one highly enough. Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, because if you like the basic feel of a dragon training story, that's essentially what this is, just Brandon Sanderson's sci-fi version without actual dragons in it. He kind of uses the ship in place of a dragon, and I thought his interpretation was superb. I had some issues with the second book and have not picked up the third one because of that. I think I'm kind of waiting until we get closer to when Defiant comes out next year. But anyway, for type of story and a YA version, this one's cool. The Pit Dragon Trilogy. A young slave takes care of dragons that are fought in pits, and to boot it all, it takes place on Mars. It's just like a wildly creative book. I absolutely loved this first one. The next three, it's a 4-book series, didn't really work for me. They didn't focus on the things that I thought were the selling points of the series. It's Pit Dragon fighting on Mars, and we get into like local market politics and things that really didn't have anything to do with the selling point. So while I did not like the continuation of the series, I absolutely loved this first one as a standalone. And it's incredibly short, but it's a satisfying read, so definitely check this one out as well. And last but not least, Graceling by Kristen Cashore. I picked this one as a recommend mostly for the character and the relationships between the characters. This is a YA book. I really loved the magic system in it, and it's to this date one of the most lovely love stories that I've ever read. The main character is kind of ostracized and awkward, and I think that's why she reminded me of the main character in Untethered Sky, so choosing that one also. And there you have it. Thanks so much for joining me on this review. I want to take a minute to thank my patrons. Thank you so much for all of your support and love for what I'm doing here. I really appreciate it. Anyway, thanks again, and I hope to catch you next time. Bye.